So we're going to be taking a look at three trigonometric ratios. And the three trigonometric ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. If you ever heard the term SOHCAHTOA, that's what we're talking about. So let's do the first one. The first ratio is called the sine ratio. And it's called sine for short, like S-I-N, I call it sine. The ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. And we write it like this. The sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And what we're saying is the ratio for, if you take the angle theta and the ratio of opposite over the hypotenuse, that is called the sine ratio. The second ratio is hopefully called cosine, and it is. It's shortened COS, but instead of saying cos, say cosine. It is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And we write this as cosine theta is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The third ratio is tangent, or tan for short. It is the opposite over the adjacent. And we write this as tangent theta is equal to opposite, opposite over the adjacent. So just like those three triangles that we wrote, if you, by the way, what made them so special, they were similar. And every similar, or every angle that is similar will have, every similar triangle will have an angle theta, right? If it's 21, if theta is equal to 21 degrees, the sine ratio of the opposite side over the hypotenuse will always be the same. So the three basic trigonometric ratios, well, I'm just going to write them like this. Sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine theta is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And tangent theta is equal to opposite over the adjacent. So an easy way to do it, now I'm going to do two ways to do it. A lot of people say so ka toa. And so is sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Ka, and when I say ka, it's CAH. It's cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And toa is tangent theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So we're going to use our calculator to find the sine, cosine, and tangent ratio of each of these angles. So right now, let's take a look at sine theta. Now notice how sine and theta are beside each other. Specifically, sine becomes first and theta is after, because we're taking the sine ratio of theta. So the sine of theta. Now I'm going to take out my calculator here. I'm going to make sure that my calculator is in degrees. And naturally they're set to radians for whatever reason. But the sine of 30 degrees is equal to 0.5 in my calculator. There should be a sine button in your calculator, 30, and that's how I got 0.5. Cosine of 30 degrees is equal to 0.866, and it's a really long decimal. How many decimal places do you keep? all of them. You may not write down all of them, but we're going to try to keep all of them in the running memory of your calculator. Last, but tangent of 30 degrees is 0.57735. Now, I don't know these numbers by heart. The sine of 45 degrees is 0.707. The cosine is, believe it or not, the same thing. And this is the only angle that is like this. The sine and cosine are the same. And the tangent of 45 degrees is 1. So surely 45 degrees seems odd. Now 80 degrees. The tangent of 80 degrees looks something like this. Cosine and the tangent. Now notice there really is no easy pattern going on here. It is very difficult. So you will need a calculator here. If you don't have a calculator, yeah, it's going to be very tough. So, and by the way, if you're going to lean on your phone for a calculator, I can't imagine a worse calculator in the universe than your phone.